Oh, hello, my gays, my theys, my straights, my matriarchs, my 5% patriarchs that we have listening. Welcome to the Millennial Matriarch podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alexis Lexi, and I am joined by my really badass rock star looking. We've got 4 gold chains on co-host ATD. How are you?
Hello, my Gorgito millennials. It's good to be here.
So Ashley and I are both having a day. It is Tuesday, January 20th. I spent 10 minutes covering my mustache. So if you can see it, I don't want to hear it. I actually don't even think there's hair there. I don't know what's happening. So I'm having hair on my face problems, and Ashley, her hair woes continue.
Yeah, we won't even get into it because I don't want to bore the crowd, but my hair really pissed me off today, and so it wasn't off to a good start. By the by the way, I woke up at 3:30 in the morning this morning, and I've been up
To do
ever
your
since.
hair?
No, not because of my hair.
I was
But
I'd be upset too.
imagine. No, it's totally irrelevant, but I've been up for many hours at this point. And then right before this, I poured myself half an energy drink because I don't normally drink those, but I need a little oomph and I spilled it all over my desk. So we're having a day.
I'm sorry.
But anyway, I just wanted to complain at the top of the app.
Shit happens. I think that our topic today, I think everybody who is female or female identifying will relate to this because we're talking about the mental load. And if you've been in a relationship, if you have a roommate, if you find yourself being the only one in the friend group that thinks about what we're going to do on Friday night, you too might be carrying a mental load. So, if you don't know, the mental load is the cognitive and emotional labor involved in organizing, anticipating, and coordinating responsibilities in a household, relationship, or workplace. In plain English, the mental load is the ongoing, invisible work of thinking about, planning, remembering, and managing everything that keeps life running. So basically, how Ashley and I got to this topic is last week before we recorded, I had a little bit of a mentee bee because I felt that I was carrying the mental load in my household a little too much lately. And Ashley was like, hey, I too
Every
feel like
day.
I carry the mental load
Every day.
in,
Every day.
in my house. And I've talked to at least 4 of my friends this week about them carrying the mental load in their house. And what the fuck? How does it happen?
Yeah, I'm actually so grateful to have this term now. I've only heard it in the last 6 months. Maybe I'm a
Really?
little behind the 8 ball, but I'm glad to have it because it really does explain that feeling of that definition you just shared. What I never thought of it as though is beyond romantic relationships, or beyond household. I never thought about it as workplace or friendships, but you know what? I totally see that.
When I was researching kind of, what is the mental load by definition, I always thought about it as romantic and household relationships.
Yeah.
But it's funny because when I read workplace, I was thinking about kind of our first job out of college and kind of how much work the project team, when it would just be us and a VP on an account and how much we felt like, oh my God, we have to be the ones that remembers everything because our VP is just there to sign off.
Right, and they theoretically had multiple us's under them. So
Right.
they're reviewing, topically overseeing, but they can't get in the weeds like we can. So yeah, it was kind of on us. I have felt that in workplace situations where maybe it's you and a peer that you have equal responsibilities, but for whatever reason, you're the one that's anticipating the client's needs. You're the one who's all right, I proactively took the notes during the meeting. I scheduled the next call. Why is it that certain people take that? That's my real question. Why do certain people take that on and certain people don't? Is it really about gender? Because you said at the top, like, females, those who identify as female, like, I think we could go down a whole, like, patriarchy rabbit hole, and maybe we will. Why that is, theoretically, like, I could feel that way with another female coworker, but for whatever reason, I'm the one with the mental load. What's up with that?
Well, it's interesting because in my research, typically women are the ones that carry the mental load. And now, if we're talking about heterosexual relationships, if we're talking about households with children, and if we're talking about caregiving roles. So you've got, kids, aging parents, emotional caretaking, it tends to fall typically more on the women. What I found is that a lot of that is because of social conditioning.
Mm.
Girls are raised to notice, anticipate, and manage emotions early. So, if you think about that, if you think about gender norms, how typically it's like the female, she's a mother, she's caretaking children. If there's multiple kids,
That makes me feel in just the typical heterosexual relationship, if we're talking about, like, a romantic one, that makes me feel like it's not necessarily, like, the male's fault. Like, my husband has often said to me, like, "It's not that I, like, see the mess and, like, I'm ignoring it." He's like, "I don't even, like, see it. Like, it doesn't even cross my radar." So then what happens? We've now fallen into this pattern, which, kinda works, but it's kind of a pain where I have to be like, "See that mess? Need you to take care of that." Where and that translates into, sort of feeling like a mother, which circles
and
back
that's
to
a
this
whole
whole
nother,
idea, like, that's a
yeah,
whole other ballgame, but it's also, like, and I'm not gonna be, like, a male apologizer, but that because of the definition and the fact that, like, it's just the expectations that are put primarily on women, it's not their fault, but what it does tell me is that men maybe need to work a little harder to
100%.
go out of their way and notice the things. And I'm talking little things like a mess, but there could be bigger things too, right? Like, oh, we have children and their annual pediatrician appointment is coming up. Why is it that mothers tend to just inherently, like, know this and then all of a sudden it goes in their to-do list to do? Like, I think, like, a male might have to work a little harder. Oh, I don't know, when they're having their appointment, put in their calendar a year from that date to say check in on, like, next PCP appointment. Like, it's not going to come up
Right.
potentially, and that's not their fault, but they might have to work a little extra harder to create that equity, like, in the
Yeah.
household.
So for my brain, in order to not want to cause bodily harm to my husband, I try to remind myself, and this is not like Ashley said, out of all people, I am definitely not a male apologist. But it's like if you go back to like the caveman days, and it's like men are hunter gatherers. Like they go out, they get the food, and they come home. And it's like I think that their brains are just one track minded. Like you said, it's not that your husband
Yeah.
is like, "Oh, I see a pile of dirty clothes on the floor. I'm just gonna keep on moving." What you're saying is he doesn't even like it doesn't even click. Like he may see that pile of dirty clothes and you and I freak out and we're like, "Oh my God, why is this here?" Where he could have walked by a pile of dirty clothes or a basket of flowers and he would have had the same reaction.
Exactly that. I think what you said about the hunter gatherer thing, like, obviously, okay, like, that's valid. What kills me though, but now I also hunt and gather.
Yeah, we can't win. Yeah.
Why is it that I have been, I guess I don't wanna say forced because I work because I want to and things cost money and I like to spend money. But, like, why am I now responsible for whatever the whatever the women did back in the day,
Right.
plus some, and you're still just
Sweeping the
and you're still
cave.
just hunting and gathering and bringing it back to the cave, and it's like, "But me too." I've been in this place before where, like, I haven't necessarily made as much money as my husband. Like, at the beginning of our relationship, we moved in together. I was sort of like, "Okay, but, like, you live in this nice place." I'm like, "I can't afford to pay 50%." And he was like, "Well, I will pay the majority." But and then I was sort of, like, uncomfy with that feeling. Like, oh, I felt like I needed to bring 50-50 to the table. But then I was able to sort of rectify within myself and with my therapist, like, there are non-monetary ways to contribute to
Yes.
a household and maybe, like, contribute a little bit even more, which was fine for back then, but then when I was laid off a few months ago, I was so overwhelmed by that thought because I feel like I already do so
Right.
much in the household that, okay, now I've lost my job, like, I can do a little bit more, but I'm already doing the majority, so how much more do I have to give in terms of, like, the household, the chores, the cooking? Like, obviously, he does his fair share, but, like, I'm already doing the majority, so now what? He's not gonna lift a single finger while I'm employed these few months? Like, that doesn't make sense either,
No.
so that's just me personally, but I feel like it's probably a theme amongst many of our friends and peers.
Right. And, I've talked to a lot of my friends about this. I've talked to a lot of the wives of my husband's friends about this. And it really is that there, in my opinion, the way that I feel is that there's like a lack of a brain connection where,
Yeah.
it's just things that like that running to-do list that I have in my head of like, okay, unload the dishwasher, reload the dishwasher, vacuum the house, wipe down the court, like just like daily, like things that need to happen. For example, yesterday, my husband and I were going to drop off some old dishes that we have for donations. This is something that I have wanted to do since before Christmas. And, you know, he was kinda cranky, it was cold, he didn't wanna do it, and I was kinda like, "Oh, but we've been talking about doing it for weeks, and, like, the dishes are driving me crazy, like,
Yeah.
they're actually driving me crazy." And to him, he's like, well, it's okay. We'll just get to it another time. And I'm like, no, these dishes are driving me crazy. And it's like they don't get bothered in the same way. And for anybody who wants to know,
Yes.
these dishes are not even in my cabinet anymore. And they are out, they are in a bag, they are quite literally ready to be donated. And I'm
Yeah.
like, can't we just get them out of the house?
We just
Can't
need to take
we
them to the thing.
we
Take them to the
just
thing.
need we just need to get them out because I don't want all these half completed tasks.
Why does it need to be a group activity?
Well, because I don't like to drive, so I'm not driving to the place where
Why
they
do you
have
have
to
to
get.
go at all? Do you see what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
Did I just blow your fucking mind?
Wait, you literally did. My god, you really did. It's like because I'm the supervisor.
Actually making your own point. And just you with the exception of that little detail, like, why does it need to be a group sponsored activity? Why not can't it be, "Hey, like, on Saturday, I'm gonna do this for the household, and, Biggie, I need you to go do that on your own." You know what I mean? Like,
I know. I think in
you
my
really needed 2
mind,
people to drive to Goodwill and say, "Here's some dishware?"
right. And like the answer is no, he can do it, but I think in my mind, I'm like if we do it together, like we're doing it together. Like, I'm not being like, "You go and
Yeah.
put that away and donate it."
I will very often offer to do things do, like, chore type things hand in hand with G so that it's just more, like, motivating, it ensures that it gets done, but it's not necessarily, like, on me, it's just like, "Hey, like, if it's easier, like, I'll go dump the recycling with you if it's easier," but then it's like, sometimes I just
Right.
gotta, like, let him do the thing because I've got 20 other things on my list I could
Well,
be doing.
and also, correct me if I'm wrong, your husband and my husband both lived without us before they met us. Like, my
Yeah, I'm pretty
husband lived
sure.
with his brother. So, it's like my husband lived with his brother. They're 2 boys. They figured
Yeah.
out how to run the dishwasher and pick up their
Yes.
clothes, or did they? Like, sometimes I go back and I think about how my husband lived before I
No.
moved in with him, and I'm like, well, you definitely were like, you definitely I remember the first time I went to his apartment, I was like, "Oh, he's definitely older, like, more mature, like, this is definitely an adult's apartment." So I'm glad. It wasn't like there were like he had a mattress and like a bed frame.
I'm just thinking about, like, boys' apartments that I've been to and the things that I, like, put up with, like, the places I put my naked body,
You're like,
unacceptable. Luckily,
unacceptable.
G's apartment was not like that when we met, which is probably a contributing factor to why we're married today, but, like,
Same
I
here.
was just
I
having
had
a little moment.
no qualms putting my naked body all over that apartment, and I didn't put it all over the apartment in case anybody's listening that was in that apartment. What I struggle with, and I actually struggle with this now with my father, now that my mother no longer lives in the home with him because she resides in heaven. I don't know what happens. Like, I joke all the time that after my mom died, it's like my dad has like a walking pad in the living room. There's a keyboard and 2, guitars in the living room, and I'm like, "Okay, we're back to college."
Okay, so this I'm so glad you brought this up. So this just proves your point that, like, it's just like, that's just the way they are. It's pre-built because it didn't matter how your mom ran that household. He defaulted back to, like,
Defaulted
phase 1 after she passed and no
after
longer
she
is
passed.
inhabiting the household. Like, that's crazy. Like, I mean, I'm sure some, like, habits were picked up and held, but it does sound
Well
like
well,
he's
but I guess maybe all of the habits were around raising my sister and I because I actually
okay.
my mom told me this story forever ago, and it's actually a story I think about a lot anytime I'm frustrated with the heaviness of the mental load that I carry. I was a kid, let's say I was under the age of 3. I was probably between, like, 2 and 3, and my mom went on a work trip, and she came home and my hair hadn't been brushed. Like, my hair was just wild and crazy. And my mom looked at my father and was like, "You didn't brush your hair." And my dad was like, "No, it was too hard." And my mother looked him dead in the eye and said, "So you're telling me if I drop dead tomorrow, this child's hair is never going to be brushed?" And she said, "Call your mother and have her teach you how to braid hair." And guess what? My father actually wound up being better at braiding hair than my mother.
Awesome.
So I'm like, she definitely, like, had to put in the work, like, you know what I mean? Like, it definitely didn't
Yeah.
come and, like, let me say, my dad has never had more than, my dad didn't have long curly hair, do you know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
he's
It had to be
never.
it had to be learned. It would have never been in his purview unless maybe he had had daughters.
Right, and which he did, and then wild crazy me had to have her hair brushed, but I actually say this a lot, and I tell my husband, and I want you to tell me if you think this is unfair. Because he will offer to help, he's like you were saying, like, if I tell him, he'll do it. But I say all the time, in order for you to truly help me and to take something off my plate, you need to think about it before me.
I agree with you, right? I agree with you, and I also wish that that was the case. What I am constantly understanding more and more, not just about my husband, but other people, is the whole "I'm not a mind reader" thing, right?
Ugh,
Well, I don't know what you want unless you tell me. I don't know what you need unless you tell me. We had a conversation very early on in our relationship about, like, I just need you to tell me. If you tell me to do it, I will do it. And I will give credit to that man. If I ask for it, I get it.
but do you always wanna have to ask?
There's 2 factors to that. I'm gonna get it, but not always on my timeline, which kills me, which is why I often say I'll just do it because I want it done now. But I've also, like, figured out ways to sort of say, "Hey, like, I don't need this right now, but sometime this weekend, I need you to do X, Y, Z." I will sort of give him a window, and that's helpful to him, maybe not helpful to everyone, but sometimes I will say, "Oh, I'll just do it because I want it done now." The other thing is what you just said, which is, do I really always have to ask? And there are certain things, especially when it comes to, like, a household, that always have to get done. The dishes
Right.
always need to be put away. I do laundry in our house, but there's always a load of laundry to throw in. There's always dog hair, and everything
Always.
could use a vacuum. The bed needs to be made every morning. That's a personal thing of mine. Like, there are things that are always need to be done. So, like, those
Right.
things I don't necessarily think they need to be said. I think what I maybe did early on in our relationship was sort of like fantasized about things happening. And it was sort of like, okay, but you did all that in your head. Like, I would need you to tell me that that's something you need or you want. But there's a difference. There's a difference between that and the things that always need to get done and the expectations of like just living and anticipating someone's needs. I agree with you. It's like sometimes I tell him the simple act of having to write you a list or having to delegate is another thing on my list.
Yes, I say that all the time.
What you can do is just like take an inventory, do an audit of what's going on around you. Pick something and say, "Hey, I'm going to go mop the floors. Is that helpful?" And I can tell you, "Yes, I was going to get to that." Or I can tell you, "Actually, this would be better." Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's sort of a way of anticipating your needs, but again, it's like sometimes having to give the list, having to extract what's in my brain and give it to someone or even show someone like how to do something like more than once. It's like maybe that would be helpful.
I'm gonna point out, I wanna call it an argument, a little heated discussion my husband and I had last night, and it was over, the rearranging and organizing of a linen closet. I'm gonna sound like an asshole, and I know it, and guess what? In this house, I often am the asshole, and I'm okay with it. So, we my husband and I were both out of town last week. I went to my best friend's wedding, he went to a work trip. So, he left on a Monday, I left on a Wednesday. That Sunday, he decides to clean out our linen closet. Now, for weeks, he had been telling me he wanted to clean out the linen closet, and I kept saying, on the list of things that we need to get done in this house, the organizing of a closet that nobody sees is so far down on the list.
Did you tell him what was higher on the list?
The removing the plates that are still in my kitchen,
And
okay?
we're back. Got it.
Sunday rolls around and he's in an organizing mood. So he decides to organize his linen closet. And I'm going to tell you, Biggie, it looks beautiful. You organized a linen closet in a way that I never will. He's got hand towels and bath towels, and like he's got every single towel you could ever imagine is perfectly cataloged. The washcloths, the blanket, like it's beautiful. But then there was this pile of towels that we're gonna donate probably to the MSPCA or something. So that stack of towels that was taken from the linen closet was put in the hallway. And I said, "You're leaving tomorrow. What are we doing with these towels?" He goes, "Oh, I'll take care of them." He put them in the guest room. So right now, our guest room is kind of a catch all because I'm taking the Christmas decorations down. We had to pull in our outdoor furniture. So it is becoming quite a little bit of a catch all. I said to him yesterday, "I am so upset about these towels. I just don't understand why I'm looking at these towels." And he was like, "Alexis, they're in the guest room, which you've been treating the guest room like a catch-all right now." And the words that immediately came out of my mouth were, "But that's okay because I've decided that's okay for me, not the towels. So now I'm a hypocrite."
Right. And that's when you completely lose your footing.
That's what you
That's when you become indefensible. Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I hear you. You know what I was thinking earlier because you defined mental load for us, and then I was thinking about some of the things like we were saying. There is a difference between like the mental load and then just like things that you're particular about. You know what I mean? How the bed is made is not necessarily the same thing as the bed being made. You know, my
Yeah,
POV is like, if you're going to do it right. But
right.
I also have to check myself sometimes and just be like, okay, but like it's done. And like, that's what I wanted. And it just because like the throw blanket isn't angled at the right way, like that's not the mental load. That's me being particular about something that needs to happen. You can even argue that the bed being made at all might be particular, right? Like that doesn't have anything to
Right.
do with the functionality and running of the household. But let me tell you what it does have to do with happy wife.
Your peace. Happy
Yeah,
wife, happy life.
happy wife. I explained it to G a long time ago that I didn't have the term mental load, but the way I explained it to him was that I am not able to unwind and truly relax and sit on the couch and do my binge reality TV watching knowing that there's a pile of dishes right there in the corner of my eye. You're telling me you're going to do them, they're your responsibility, but I just don't feel right like settling in for the night and calling it a day or going to sleep or whatever. Like I won't ever like I might do the motions, but I'm not really going to be able to like fully relax. And like don't you want to be part of like making me more comfortable in our home? Like I would do that for you. I've made the home cozy. Like I've sort of taken on that like
Right.
domestic matriarchal role, pun intended. He didn't ask for that, but I know he values it. So it's like, all right, well, I'm asking you to do something that I value. Like but I also understand like there are just particulars I have that aren't necessarily his responsibility. Just try to communicate to him that amongst all of the things that are going on in my list of to-dos, like, just would make me feel, like, so much better.
And then there's this other layer of it that I can't help but think about is a lot of what we're describing, laundry, making a bed, like those are things that your mother would harp on you for. And then there's this whole other side where it's like, and there's tons of studies that have come out that are like, hey, the second you start to mother somebody and parent them in the relationship's screwed. Because
Mm,
then it's like, and listen, I'm being dramatic. I don't think telling your husband one time to make the bed is going to take all the intimacy out of the window. But it's like, you know, if you talk about it, like, it's like if I have to parent my husband, I don't want to fuck my husband.
right. Great point. I say that all the time. I say, "I'm not your mother. I don't wanna be a mother. I didn't wanna
Like, I
have
don't want to be a mother at
children.
all.
I don't wanna be a mother at all." So the idea of mothering you or giving you, like, maternal-like tasks, like, that's, like, nowhere in the ballpark of where my life is headed and where I wanna go, you know? Because I don't wanna have children, so it's, like, truly the opposite. I've, and this is you said the thing about, like, mothers and, like, the way you're raised, and, like, I think of this as, like, a value, like, a positive thing, and, like, the way that I was first of all, I'm the eldest daughter, you are too.
Yes.
Maybe you
Yes, we
feel the
are.
same way. I think there is a natural and one day I know we'll talk about, like, birth order and, like, things like
Yes.
that, which I'm
I'm
so excited to
fascinated by
get
it. We
to.
totally will.
But that in mind, I was definitely like my I just had a friend here this weekend visiting from, where I grew up. And her and a bunch of my other friends, we talk about how like I had the strictest parents of the whole friend group. Like they knew Ashley was not allowed to go out. She was not like they knew all my chores just as well as I did. And they knew don't even bother calling her to come out until XYZ is done, right? And that's fine. Like it wasn't crazy, but like my parents were very, very strict with me. And I think that changed with my siblings, but I digress. The point is, I think as the eldest daughter, I was held to a certain standard. And I just remember like, and I don't know that this was directly told to me by my mom, but there was an understanding that like I wasn't gonna sit down, watch TV, go out with my friends, go to my room and listen to music. I was not to relax until I checked in with my mom and said, "Hey, I did blah 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 that you asked me. Is there anything else I can do?" That is just I'm conditioned to do that.
How
I
you were
do it
raised.
now.
Yeah.
Even now like when I'm with my mom or frankly anyone in their home, doing something with them, like, it's mostly in people's homes, like, I am built to be like, "What can I do? What can I do? What can I do?" And some would say, "Oh, that's just, normal manners," but that truly like, that sense of anxiety I was talking about earlier about not being able to sit on my own couch if there are dishes in the sink, I think that
Yep.
stems from a place of, well, no, like, that's now how I want my household to be ran. Like, I want things a certain way. And like, sometimes a certain way is just, I don't know, clean dishes so we have something to eat off, clean underwear so I have something to put on, unless I'm working out, of course. And I'm Alexis. Like,
We know you
yeah,
wear underwear to work out. I lost. I lost that battle.
but there are just certain expectations. So I definitely realize like that is definitely where that comes from. And I realize that not everyone comes from that. And so that's another thing. Can you really get mad at someone who just doesn't have it built in? They just don't know. They don't have that mechanism inside of them. I could argue both ways. I could say they weren't raised like that, so they don't know. I could also say, you're adult, get off your ass. You know what good manners are. Figure it out. But also I'm, in my relationship, I'm his wife. I'm not his mother.
You're not his mother. I think about this a lot because one, I think about it in terms of the fact that you and I are in a heterosexual marriage. And if you want to be stereotypical, a lot of times it's the woman who is cooking and cleaning. So I sometimes think like, oh, growing up, your mom cooked and cleaned for you because she also deserves to have a clean house and to eat. So it's like that expectation is not there. But then I also think about sometimes the differences in the siblings, like you were saying. And I say this all the time, and I think it's so funny. My sister in her apartment where she lives, oh, she is a drill sergeant. Like, she keeps that bed made, the dishes are washed. She is like, but. She comes home to my parents' house and, she'll leave dishes in the sink. And like growing up, like my sister was like that. Like my sister, like the dishwasher would be empty and my sister would put the like dish in the sink and not the dishwasher. I do think it's interesting. And especially when you get into like the oldest, youngest
Yeah.
dynamic
Yeah, there's mental
too.
load in that too, right? Who's the one who's anticipating mom's birthday gift and making sure that, the younger ones are either, contributing or, hey, did you tell dad happy birthday today? Hey, make sure you do this. There is that laboriousness to being an older sibling too. It's like the mental load and thinking of things that your siblings don't know or aren't built to think about. And like I think it gets better as you all become adults, but we still
100%.
have our individual roles, right? And like we still turn into our young teenage selves when we walk through our parents'
Oh,
door and the
right.
dynamics start all over again, like you just said.
The f the funniest thing was, my sister and I were both home during COVID for 6 months,
Oof.
and at that point, I was 28 and it was her senior year in college, so she was 22, and, it was just so funny how quickly we, like, each went back into our old, like, roles that we played, like, down to, "Do you have, like, a seat at the dinner table?" Like, it was like we even every time I'm home,
Wow.
it's like we sit back at the same seat and it's just kinda like, "Oh my god," it's like nothing's changed. But I do have to say, I think it's very interesting since my mom died, kind of how like, the roles that my sister and I have taken on, and it's like, I think that we both have split her responsibilities when we're home in such a beautiful, thoughtful way.
That's
Like,
amazing.
I have to give my sister a lot of credit for making Christmas still feel magical in a way that, like, I I haven't been able to do since my mom passed. So,
That's
it
awesome.
is kinda even interesting to see, like, just how much that our dynamic has changed in, like,
Yeah.
the almost 2 years since my mom passed.
Well, you're tapping into something else I was thinking about, which is why do we feel this way? Like, why is it so important that we share the mental load? Like, like, other than, respect and love, like, what is the importance? And I think that the thing that your mom said about your dad not brushing your hair when you were 2 or 3 and saying,
Yeah,
if I wasn't here, like, you telling me you wouldn't brush the kids' hair ever? Like, you need to prep
yeah,
because I might do it now and I might be happy to do it every day for the rest of my life with her, but like, just in case, like figure it out. And like, it'd be nice to share the load a little bit. Like taking that example further and even into like growing up, I think I don't have children. I don't plan on having children, but one of like my drivers in like, I need support. I need to know like as my partner that you know how to do this, or I need, you as my sister to be able to do this is because people get sick,
yeah,
people die,
yeah,
bad things happen that are completely out of our control,
mhm,
natural disasters, terrorist attacks, things happen, right? Like,
yeah,
and I'm someone who's experienced a few of those, and I want someone by my side, whether it's in my partnership, my friends, my siblings. Like, I need to know that these people, they got me. They got me if
yes,
something not so great happens, or if God forbid, like I'm no longer here. Like I need to know that in the face of tragedy or disaster or hardship, we're already so strong in our dynamics in our relationship that like you could pick up wherever I leave off if I need your support. So the way, unfortunately, I wish that this wasn't the case for you, but this has
Yeah.
happened now with you and your sister, which is
Yeah.
so beautiful. Whether you knew how to do the things that you're doing or not, you figured it out and
You
you
just
divided
figure
and conquered and life has gone on and it's not easy, I'm sure, but it certainly helps that you're both carrying, some of
yeah.
the traditions and some of the things that maybe your mom used to do that now is kind
Yeah.
of on you both. But it's like that's it. That's what it really comes
That's
down to.
yeah.
And I know it's a long road to go from dishes in the sink to what I just said, but I've tried to paint that picture with like my husband specifically, like, hey, I just like need to know that like on the day that I can only give 20%, you can give the other 80. And some days we
That's what
both
Brené Brown says. Brené Brown has a
yes,
whole
love.
talk
That has
about
always stuck
how
with me.
yes, about how relationships are not 50-50 because that's just not realistic. And, so Brené Brown, this video is very popular. I'm sure if you Google Brené Brown relationship dynamics, you'll find it where she talks about basically her and her husband have, I'm going to call it like a table check in where, they both sit down and they say, hey, I'm at a 30% today. Can you carry that 70? Or and if her husband says, "Yep, I got you. That's great," then they move forward. But if her husband sits down and says, "Hey, I only have 32." Now as a family, their family total is only 60%. So what what do they have to give up? Because
Yes.
we can't do it all. We can't always give 100%. So if you can only give 30% and your husband can only give 30%, that other 40%, we have to figure it out and it has to be redefined. And I think, honestly, I think that is the mental load of it all. Is I know last week and Ashley talked to me. I had like a complete meltdown. I just felt like I couldn't constantly be the one to remember everything. Like, and it was just like, I am in this marriage and I am in a partnership, so I don't have to remember everything on my own. Because then what happens when you forget?
Right. You forget or those days where you can't give 100 and then you have to give up so much more on your list, whether it's mental or physical, like you have to give up so much more or you have to like push past to a place of like discomfort, like you don't go to sleep because this is on your mind or you don't go to sleep because you do the things that you needed to do. It's like it becomes like a crazy disparity, is that the right word?
Yeah.
It's like yeah, like on it's like if you're always carrying 100 or 90% on the days where you can't, so much more has to fall off if that other person isn't willing to say, "Well, no, I got 20% in me or I got 50% more today." Like it's just that's the overwhelming feeling is like when things over index. We're not going to figure it all out today, right? We don't have all the
No.
answers. We've tried methods in our relationships. We're just here to chat through it. Hopefully y'all are feeling well, hopefully you're not feeling the same way, but I think we all can resonate with
I think
that feeling.
in some way, it's just, the mental load sticks to whoever society assumes will just handle it.
Just handle
And
it.
if you are somebody who just handles it, Ashley and I see you, we feel you, and hopefully one day you won't have to be the one that just handles it.
Amen. Amen. That's a great transition into our next segment. It's a little silly. It's a little slutty. It's just like us. It's the Millennial Mouthfuls. This is where we talk about what we love, what we hate, what we're watching, what we're reading, what's going on in pop culture, what's really on our mind. And the first topic today falls perfectly under the mental load because I believe this person suffers from it.
I do too.
Amanda Batula and Kyle Cook of Summer House announcing their separation. Alexis, tell the people for those who didn't see the post. Was it yesterday?
Yes, for those who didn't see, yesterday, Amanda Petula and Kyle Cook, both within like 10 minutes of each other, put out a statement saying that they were separated. And if you were somebody who was into Bravo, if you saw the Summer House trailer, there's been a lot of speculation online that the two were living separately, or, that there was trouble in paradise.
So many
If
rumors.
you've watched the show at all, you've seen their relationship play out on TV. You've seen Kyle cheat on Amanda. You've seen Kyle go out until 4 a.m. You've seen a misalignment of, values. And, I don't think anybody is surprised, but I'm going to read the statement out loud because they both posted the same statement and it was signed from both of them. It says, after much reflection, we have mutually and amicably decided to part ways as a couple. We share this with a heavy heart and kindly ask for your grace and support while we focus on our personal growth and healing. It feels ironic to ask for privacy during this time since we've always tried to be open and honest about our relationship, but your kindness and respect will go a long way as we try to navigate our next chapter. Amanda and Kyle. So I think it's very interesting timing considering I think like 4 episodes ago after the Summer House trailer dropped, I was talking on a mouthful about how I've always kind of prided them on showing the raw and dirty and unfiltered side of their relationship.
Yeah.
And I actually have a question for you. When they say we would like everybody to respect our privacy during this time, because they are reality TV stars and because their relationship has played out, in the court of public opinion, what do you feel? How do you feel about that statement? What comes to mind?
Like the way that they said it, acknowledging that they
Yeah, me
are
too.
public figures, that sort of nixes anyone's ability to be like, but you're in the public eye. This is what you deserve this. This is what you asked for. People are going to pry. So it's sort of acknowledging that from the jump. It's going to happen anyway. What it makes me feel like, because they are public figures and I think they do respect the life that they've chosen,
Yeah, 100%.
because this summer has already been filmed and they were together, or who knows, maybe
Who
we'll find
knows?
out.
Yeah.
I think that they owe it to the audience to stay true to that narrative and that plot line, which is real, but it's also going to be, 6 months delayed, right?
Right. Yes.
So I think that there's that. A lot of their marital issues could continue to come about through what was filmed this past summer, and they're sort of waiting for the audience to catch up before they
Yeah.
start revealing details. Or they're professionals and they are considering still being part of Summer House this coming summer and knowing that there's a storyline and a narrative to wait and share at that point. Like, I actually think,
Interesting. Yeah.
not to mention, they need time to like breathe and figure out what they're doing. Like, when they say they're
Well, they're
separated,
people. They are
that's one
people.
thing. They might still be in the process of, no pun intended, decoupling themselves from each other's lives.
Well, they
We
own a
spend
business together.
They own a business, they have an apartment, they have dogs, they have families that are intertwined, they obviously have friends that are intertwined. They might be
Right.
trying to figure it out, and so the plea to sort of stay out of their privacy is not to say like, "Oh, don't be interested in our impending divorce," but we don't have answers either. We're figuring it out. So I think it could be one or both of those things. Consciousness of the show, needing to figure out what the heck they're going to do anyway. Yeah, it could be either or both. That's how I feel.
At the end of the day, Amanda and Kyle are reality TV stars. So they did sign up to kind of live their life in front of a camera. That being said, there's still two people who got married because they loved each other. And now this is the breakdown of a relationship. And at the end of the day, whether they have jobs or not, they're two people. Talk about somebody carrying a mental load because, her husband was always out until 4 a.m. And like, why does he have to be a DJ? He's old.
I know. I wanted to point out the fact that the mental load in their relationship, from an outsider, I don't know these people.
Right. We
This
don't
is
know.
parasocial, but the mental load that exists on her in this relationship is very different from the mental load you and I were talking about earlier. Because what we know from the show is that Amanda is kind of, messy. She doesn't pick up her stuff around the household. She's got boxes everywhere from all her Amazon deliveries. She doesn't really initiate, like, what are we having for dinner? Like, Kyle seems to be more of like the quote unquote adult in that way.
Domestic or the
But
domestic.
right. So the mental load that I feel, has been carrying is not that sort of household load. It's the social and emotional load.
Like a man child. It's like the man child.
Ready and waiting to connect with you and feel like husband and wife with you, and you constantly need to be entertained, and you're running off to God knows where with God knows who to do God knows what. And I'm here waiting. And she had a moment. I don't know if it was this past season. I think so. The past season that aired, where she kind of, this isn't a direct quote, but basically said, like, you missed the boat. Like, I was
Yeah.
ready and waiting for you to give me like
Yep.
attention and to create intimacy with me, and your actions, this sort of party boy lifestyle, this weekend warrior lifestyle of working super hard during the week and partying super hard during the weekend, that like disparity. I've grown into an adult, and you've been an adult this whole time, because he's a good amount older than her.
Yeah.
And you're over here and I'm over here. And guess what? Now I don't want your attention. I frankly just want to be left alone to watch my Bravo and to sit on my couch and hang out with my dogs. And I'm like, holy shit, she's just like me. But it's that mental load. I'm sort of maintaining like a lifestyle that would maybe propel us into parenthood one day. And that was another thing last season. She's like, I'm not sure I want to be a parent anymore. It's as if he completely missed the boat on her growth. It's like she finally grew into the person I think he wanted her to be, and he never changed for her.
I can't remember which TikToker posted this, but she was basically saying how Kyle has got a reality TV show. He's got a company. He's already got some kind of like fame and notoriety. And then you had to go out and become a DJ. Like, it's like, how much
Get
more of your
over
ego?
yourself.
Like, and this is what she said. She said, how much more of his ego being fed, like, was it going to take?
This is not the same as people growing and changing and developing new hobbies. Like 2 months ago, I woke up and decided that I wanted to start a podcast with my friend Alexis and start posting my life on TikTok, on social media. That is not the person my husband married. But people are allowed to grow and change and develop. But like, hey, come along with me. He knows all the things that have gone into making those decisions,
Yeah.
and why like things are changing, and the things we talk about are now changing because of those creative endeavors, and like our schedule is changing because of those creative
Right.
endeavors. That is different than the ego you're talking about with Kyle. It's like it just is never enough. He's got
I
to
mean,
be
when's it going to be
the
enough?
guy. He's got to have all the attention. He's got to
Yeah.
be the coolest dude in the room. It's like, and poor thing, all she wanted to do was like start a swimsuit line. And it's funny how he did. She
Yep.
started that, and then he decided to be a DJ. It feels a little bit like competition
Yeah.
almost. Like he
It's
has to be the peacock in the relationship. And listen, you and I are that in our relationships. I know
hey,
this.
I listen, I may think I am the peacock, but I also have a peacock. So
Yeah, and I'd like to think you would take a step back if it was his moment.
100%.
It's like he couldn't just let her have a moment and pursue DJing like on the side in his fucking apartment. Like, why did he have to go and be Diplo?
Last season, he was the one that was like really kind of pushing like I'm ready for kids. I'm ready for kids. Dude, you're going to have a newborn and be out in the clubs? Like, are you kidding me? Are you absolutely not.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Absolutely not.
This goes back to the traditional domestic mental load type of scenario, because even though he didn't say it, and even though he may not have thought it, subconsciously there is an expectation that because she's the woman, she will handle the majority
Yeah, she'll
of
be home.
like the maternal needs. That I don't like. And that I have had to educate like my husband on, is that like you yours I don't think that you have ill intentions. I don't think you're intentionally trying to treat me differently because I'm a woman. I don't think that you have expectations that I do certain things, but sometimes your lack of doing something or the ex or not knowing how things just appear or happen in our
When
household.
you said the laundry fairy to me last week, I lost it. I was like, "Yeah, it's like there's a
I was
laundry
like I was
fairy."
like, "Who?" I was like, What fairy do you think is picking your dirty drawers off the the friggin' closet floor, putting them in a hamper, washing them, folding them, and putting them on the dresser just so you could put them away? Like, what magical fairy do you think is just gonna pick up and do all of this?
And
I'll
how
tell
do
you
I
who.
get one?
Her name is Ashley. Her name is Amanda. Like, who's gonna take care of the kids? It's
Who's gonna take care of it?
sometimes
Yeah.
it's the lack of forethought that indicates like, "Oh, you just assumed she would do it." Like, he just
Right.
assumed if they had kids, she would bear most of the burden and he could go off and, be Avicii. That was probably a bad reference. Skrillex.
I mean, I love
And
Avicii, Skrillex, and Diplo. I don't think he's any of them.
not that, like, I want it to be a dirty divorce, but we all know there was no prenup signed, so I hope she walks away with a nice little chunk of lover boy. She
She's
deserves
already a
it.
part of a business. Also, we do not know because they could have done a post-nup.
True. Yeah, they could have also just done a business agreement that says you have
Right.
X percent, I have X
You've
percent.
right.
Absolutely.
And she does all of the creative and does all the merch. So I hope stays getting that cash money.
Yeah, absolutely. Next thing I wanted to touch on is phenomenon that is heated rivalry. I know everyone is talking about it. I won't get too into the weeds other than to say, and I talked about it with my friend who was visiting this weekend, that what I don't understand is like the intense, like drooling, going nuts for getting your panties wet over this show. Are we that sexually oppressed that seeing some men like perform sexual acts on a TV show is like, oh my God, this is the most fucking amazing thing I've ever seen? Like, does nobody watch porn anymore?
Well, so
Like,
that's what I
come
was gonna ask
on.
because I have not watched Heated Rivalry. However, I know the premise and I've seen I'm on the internet, but I watched The Hunting Wives and it was like the same thing. And
Yes.
I kept thinking, I had a friend text me another friend and go, "Oh my God, like this show is so hot." And I'm like, "You do you not watch porn?" I'm like, "This is like softcore porn." I have not seen Heated Rivalry, but it's on HBO. I know that there's a lot of heavy petting. I'm assuming there's no it's not I don't know how graphic it's getting, but
Yeah, like, you're
girl,
not seeing dick, but like you're seeing like aggressive like motions that are blowjobs, thrusting. You're seeing like very like sexy angles. And listen, I'm not saying it doesn't turn me on. It does. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy the
I have
show.
a
I
pulse.
actually I actually shed a tear because there is like a whole love story type of plot line. Well, it's like the whole plot line. But it just like it's not the first time I've seen something like that. So I feel like all of like the sexually oppressed women and men out there are like chomping at the bit and they're the majority and it's like, "Oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before." And in a way we haven't, right? Cuz it's like,
Well, I mean, there is the representation aspect of it about
yeah.
how Heated Rivalry, if you're not familiar, is a hockey romance, but it's two male hockey players.
Mhm.
So, I think representation is super important. That aspect of this show is incredible. Same thing with The Hunting Wives. There's a lot of, there's a lot of lesbian sex and, portrayal in that. I'm not sure, I don't, first of all, I watched The Hunting Wives and I don't know that any of that cast is an out and proud lesbian. And if you are, I'm sorry I missed the memo.
And my friend actually told me this weekend that two main guys in Heated Rivalry, those actors, they've been asked like, "Well, are you gay? Like, what's your sexual orientation?" And they've said like, "I'm not going to say because it's irrelevant. Like whether I am or I'm not, this is the show we made. These are the characters and this is who they are." And I actually really respect that because it's like, why is the conversation always about, are you really gay playing a gay person? Who gives a fuck? They're actors. They're doing an amazing job regardless. So I do love that. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's not about I agree. Like, it's necessary. We have to hear these stories. We have to see people in non-heterosexual relationships on screen. Representation is so important, like you said. I just feel like, well, the reason we're getting up in arms about it is because like they're fucking and it's awesome to watch. And it is. I'm just surprised at like the level of like holy shitness that came about with both Heated Rivalry and Hunting Wives, where it's women,
Do
you
you know what
know?
I wonder? Like, and I think you and I are the wrong people to answer this question because you and I are very open sexually. We are not sexually repressed. But, when you were talking about kind of like how horned up it's making all the ladies,
Yeah.
it's like when 50 Shades first came out.
Yes.
And, like, all the women were like, "Oh my god, it's so horny, let me diddle myself in my pants." It's like, it could be people that kinda maybe feel like they don't wanna watch porn or they feel shame around it where, now you've got, like, mainstream porn. I find it interesting too. And, like, listen, I like to read, like, I like to read smut, like, I like to read horny things,
Yes, right, which we've covered.
like
And that's the thing, I rather watch Heated Rivalry or The Hunting Wives as examples. I rather watch that over porn any day because it does
well, it's
not
got a
go
story.
right, it's a story, it feels more female friendly, right? Like, there's a buildup, there's a
Maybe that's
tension,
the
there's
lane.
music, there's lighting, and it's created in a really, like, romantic way, whereas porn can be, like, hyper unrealistic, kind of rough, graphic. Like, I think we like the
Very from the male
teasingness of
perspective.
those shows. Like, I'm not actually seeing P in V. I'm not actually seeing P in B, like, in these
You're, like,
things. It's sort of
edging
like
yourself.
it's intimated, whereas porn is like, "Whoa," in your face, and, like, I think we all know that the majority of porn is not it doesn't feel like it's catered to women, so maybe this is why this feels so good. Because I agree, I'd rather watch this than porn. I'm just not awestruck by the content, but, yeah, maybe I'm just, like,
Yeah.
overly
Okay, but I do wanna shout out one. I'm a user, and I do wanna shout them out. So, the company Vibes Only, it is a sex toy brand. It is Ashley Hesseltine and Raina Greenberg from the Girls Gotta Eat podcast. So, they also have a Vibes Only app, which is erotica audio, but it's made for the female gaze. So it's actually like personally, I don't love straight porn because I find straight porn to be rapey. So like if I'm going to watch porn, I'm going to watch lesbian porn. However, the Vibes Only app has erotica stories and I love them. They also sync to their sex toys. Ashley's like
Ashley is
putting it
currently downloading the app. Is there a paywall?
It is, but it's worth it. It's,
Alright.
I think it's like $49 annually, for the app, but they constantly update it. They also have like how-to guides, like if you just wanted to get more sexually literate, um, and they talk about,
Exciting.
other things in that realm. I don't care who you are. You may love sucking dick. I am never gonna wanna watch somebody suck dick and like gag. Like,
No, never. I
I don't
always
want
skip over that part.
I always skip over the blowjobs. I don't wanna watch you fucking slobbing on a knob. I don't wanna watch myself do it.
Which, if you watch lesbian porn, you don't have to worry about any of that, so I see your point. Yeah, so I guess we've kind of come, like, full circle on, like, my critique of, like, how people are reacting. That's why. It's because it's more romanticized, and even though it's not, like, super realistic, it is just, like, a smoother, like, lighter way to, like, get into it. I think The Hunting Wives was very similar.
Yeah,
That did
totally.
it for me, but I'm also, like I'm somewhere on, like, the fluid spectrum, so I
Girl,
wasn't surprised that did it for me.
do you know how I describe myself? I am, like, barely straight. Like, I hate the patriarchy so much that if I
Yeah.
didn't actually, the summer I met my husband, I was trying to date men and women. So I, like, totally was like, "Oh, let's just see."
Sometimes I think, like, I'm emotionally gay, but maybe just, like, physically straight? But even then, I could be swayed.
I was gonna say, I just know I couldn't be in a romantic relationship with a woman because I couldn't do all the feelings.
Okay. Oh, see? Okay, so we're kind of the flip then.
I couldn't
Hilarious.
do all the feelings. I could do the other stuff, but not the feeling.
Yeah. Okay, so together we could be with the perfect woman. Okay, to close things out, I wanted to talk about, like, a thought that I had because this weekend I had some friends visiting and I made a couple reservations, one of them being at like a lunch brunch spot for the day that they
Mhm.
arrived. And I got to thinking, when you plan ahead and you make a reservation somewhere and then cuz you think like, oh, you need a reservation, like I don't want to risk not getting a table.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
then you show up and no one's in the restaurant. Do you ever feel like embarrassed?
Well, okay, yes, but I need to ask you follow-up questions. If it's
Yeah.
like, did you make the reservation for, like, opening time? Because then no.
No, I'm talking like you made it like, for instance, I made this reservation at this, like, brunch place, like,
Was it a
I
nice
thought
place?
we were going during brunch time, and it's, like, a newer restaurant, so I thought for sure and actually, that place ended up being pretty, like, hyped up, but I was thinking as we were headed over there, I was like, "It is a Friday afternoon, like, there is a chance that it's empty," and I was just thinking about the times where I have made reservations for, like, peak dinner time,
Yeah, yeah.
pretty popular restaurant, was never able to get reservations before. And then you show up and it's empty. And maybe I am solo, but there's like this feeling of embarrassment that comes over me. Not because I'm
Are you embarrassed that you made a reservation? Like, what's the
I
embarrassment
don't know.
over? Are
It's just
you
that feeling of like, I'm here, party of two. I made a reservation. And they're like, great, have a seat wherever you like. And you're like, okay. Someone listening is going to understand this feeling of like feeling weird.
but this is my follow-up question. Are you embarrassed because you made a reservation, or are you embarrassed on behalf of the establishment for being empty?
Great question. No, for me, that I thought I thought I was because there's something about, even though it's something I've done millions of times in my life, there is something sort of like fancy about like making a reservation and like having a planned dinner. Like dinner and reservations and restaurants are like very important to me as a human. Like I
Yeah.
love to like go to a beautiful vibey restaurant with amazing food and like I just like love the whole experience. And so part of that experience is like making the reservation, booking it for the perfect time that you wanted to get in and bringing friends that you want to show this restaurant to that you love. And then you get there and it's sort of like, yeah, bro,
You
like sit wherever you want. Like there's something like womp womp about it. I don't know. It's the best way I can describe it. But it's happened to you, right? Like it's
Yeah.
happened.
Well, I'll feel embarrassed from the establishment, but, like, that's not my problem.
That makes sense. That makes more sense than what I've got going on.
Like,
But yeah, it's a recurring feeling for me.
my husband is calling me because he has questions about dinner.
Jesus Christ. The worst.
No,
Talk about the most mental load topic.
no, he's picking up
What's
dinner
for dinner? Okay, thank God.
because I told him so I do this thing now. So Ashley and I record at night now, and I try to cook dinner before we record, but sometimes it doesn't happen. And I texted him and said, "You can have leftovers." I don't think he likes leftovers. So he wanted to know what I wanted. So I don't even know if I threw something out there, but I am laughing because earlier today he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll eat the leftovers." I should have known. When I saw his name pop up on my phone, I was like, "What happened?" I was like, I'm recording." If you want more of our daily chaos, hot takes, and semi-responsible wisdom, follow us on social. I, Alexis, am at the underscore millennial underscore matriarch. And Ashley is at Millennial Mind of Ash, one word, on TikTok and Instagram. We are serving questionable decisions, comforting truths, and the occasional, wait, am I the drama? Spoiler alert, yes, always yes. For more episodes, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Substack, and YouTube. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. Until next time, drink some water, trust your gut, and remember, you're the matriarch of your own fucking castle. Act like it. Love you, mean it. Bye.
Bye.